noise.
Another thing to touch on that too, Quentin, usually when a man is stubborn, it's because he's tried other things and they just didn't work. And so he's at the point where he doesn't want to try anymore. And usually he doesn't feel vested in the relationship like he should. So that could be him not being treated the way he feels like he's supposed to be treated. He doesn't feel like a king in his house. And so he gets stubborn and he really doesn't want to put in. And at the same time, he's not willing to give you what you need as well. And so sometimes in a relationship, when you're not getting what you need and he's not getting what he's need, nobody's getting nothing, then it gets dry, like Quentin said. So now I would say this is a loaded question. So there's a lot of whys and questions that we would have to answer in order to give you, an educated answer on how to handle your situation. So I would advise counseling at this point to try to break down some walls and get to the root of what the problem is.
Absolutely. Before we move on, I want to personally introduce our friend, Ron Franklin. How you doing, Ron? Tell him a little bit about
Ron,
yourself.
what's up?
What up? What up? Ron, Jesus forever. I'm Ron Franklin. My beautiful wife, she's not here, doing the counsel session, Songs of Solomon Relationship Institute, where we do marriage boot camp, we do counseling. We'll take and go to the Cayman Islands to marry people there too. But besides all of that, we're about relationships, building marriages. We're going into 31 years deep in June 1st. I'm so happy that we made it this far. And let me tell you, loving God and just keeping God first in the relationship and knowing how God can do this thing, let me tell you, it works. I'm a witness. Just like Marvin says, I thought I wouldn't make it, but I'm here today.
Amen. Amen. Listen, y'all better get ready. Get your questions ready. I want to let everyone know that just came in. Get your questions ready for the panel. I have questions for them that were submitted prior to, and I gathered questions that you guys were asking in the past 3 weeks. So they're going to be asking that. If you have any questions, go ahead and submit that in the chat room. If you want to remain anonymous, you can do that. If you go in the chat, you see the word everyone, you click that arrow down and you'll see anonymous, but you want to contact Julie. Contact Julie. You'll see her, Capria. She's in the chat area, and send your anonymous message to her. Okay. And if everybody can come onto their cameras, it makes it more exciting. We can see everybody's face. So come on, everybody. All right. So I'm going to go to the next question because we have plenty of questions that I want to get to. So again, I just want to remind my panelists to keep your response up under a minute and a half. Okay. My husband is terrible with the finances. And because of that, I don't trust him. I bring in most of the money. His employment is inconsistent. What can I do to cause change in this situation? I'm going to repeat it again. My husband is terrible with finances. And because of that, I don't trust him. I bring in most of the money. His employment is inconsistent. What can I do to cause change in this situation?
Hey, I guess I could tackle that one. Let me say it like this. Now, it sounds like me because I put it to you like this real nice. Mine was F up for real. I was that person that was sitting there with the finances that was jacked. I was the one that didn't know how to manage money. I was the one that was sitting here doing all this crazy stuff. But how I got out of that situation, my wife, she began to encourage me. She knew, number one, I wasn't no banker. Number two, I didn't believe in banks because I kept money in my pocket. Number three, my wife, she was making money and she's still making more money than me. But the fact is, it doesn't matter who makes the money. This is y'all together that you got to build. You have to learn to speak to your man. Speak to him and start telling him, baby, I love you. I appreciate you. Give him the sandwich technique. Give him something positive first. Baby, you're excellent support, whatever it is. In the middle, you could say something like, baby, but you know what? You're not quite doing finances right, but this is what I feel. Then the third party is you give a positive and come in and say to him, baby, but I really appreciate what you're doing. When my wife did that to me, guess what? Who's on that A game about finances? Now, am I still making as much as my wife? Absolutely not. But it's not about who makes the most. It's about coming together, budgeting as one, and learning to teach each other how to do the finances. That makes sense?
That's a good answer.
Also, Ryan, what you have to do is you have to build goals together. You have to set like-minded goals on what you want to achieve. And once a man sees that, he won't mess with the finances because he doesn't want to affect that goal. So if you decide you want to buy a house and you need so much money to buy this house, then he's not going to squander the money away. A lot of times he's spending the money because he feels like you have it, and it's an access. So if you set goals for when you're going to retire, money you might want to invest, different things to do with the money,
Involve him
and involve him in that, then he'll take more of a responsibility and not just frivolously spend the money on different things.
And then I would say something that he taught me was that I remember we were watching, it was some star that was divorcing, and she would make way more money than the husband she was with. And I looked at my husband, I said, what if I made like ridiculous amount of money, way more than you? Like I made $500,000, you only made 50,000. He said, I wouldn't care as long as you remember we made it and you didn't make it. Now, did you hear that? He said, as long as you remember that we made it and you didn't make it. In other words, you didn't make $500,000. We made 500,000. I didn't make only $50,000. We only made $50,000. So as long as you make him feel this is our money and not your money, you'll probably also get a better response. And women who make more money tend to usually make this, and this is one of the number one mistakes that they make, is they make it their money. So I would advise you to be very careful with that.
And sometimes the husband will, to make himself feel good because he has an insecurity about how much money he makes, he'll spend more money to make himself feel better.
Or even to tee you off, to aggravate you, right? Anybody else have a comment on that one?
I just would throw in, when it comes to that kind of stuff, as for ladies, just understand that money is always a part of a man's ego. And so what you want to do is sometimes you have to walk ginger around certain situations, because money and men, authority and men, these things are ego pressers, right? They press on the ego. So you do have to use wisdom. If you do make a lot of money, he knows you do. Like, I have a problem more about you thinking that you actually need to say that you actually make more money. And if you're able to say that, then that tells me that he feels pressure on that. And so that should actually never come up, because he looks at all the money and he knows. The key thing is that if you really want him to be better with it, this kind of goes with what Sean said, is that take the pressure off of that fact that you do make the money, and you should really never even bring up what it is, because like the bank said, the pot is the pot. It's the house pot. So whatever is going in there, we did make this.
1 second. We need everyone to put your phones on mute. We have an open mic. Please put your phones on mute. Everyone, please just look down on your phone, except for my speakers. Just look down and mute your phone. Thank you. Go ahead, Quinn.
Yeah, I was just saying is that when you're working together as a team and you're trying to build this oneness, the first thing you want to make sure is that you're building oneness. And oneness means that, and as hard as it is, that we have to continue to create this selfless mindset. You have to be selfless in the marriage. You have to be selfless in your conversation around what you have, what you got, what you've done. You got to be selfless. You got to really think about, what have we accomplished? Even though you did go to school, you did walk across the stage, you did do A, B, and C, but you didn't do that without someone actually providing support, allowing you to have time to be able to do whatever you did to make this money and all of this stuff. So it's the house money. And so just from a woman's perspective, understanding that money and men, money is an ego pusher on men. Like, it presses on our ego if we don't have this, or if we don't have something, it irritates us. And how do you comfort that? Well, go build a spreadsheet. Go to Excel and go build a spreadsheet and put all the money, everything that you guys spend, create a budget sheet, and then present that to them and say, hey, babe, this is what I was looking at. This is what we bring in, right? So I'm using the word what we bring in, not because I make more money or you don't know. No, this is what we bring in. I got it all at the top. Maybe this might help us be able to, put our budget in on what we spend out and what we're able to save and put away. But that spreadsheet that's a place where y'all both can meet, y'all both can talk, y'all both can sit down and put things together for the family. And then that doesn't bruise his ego or anything. It's a, what I'm saying? You built it, you created it and all that stuff, but then you placed it in his hands to actually care for it. And like I said, you do that. And if it's a man that needs that, then I say you oblige it because it helps the oneness,
Real
it's
quick,
not.
Quint, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
One thing that we do, we have 6 accounts.
Mm-hmm.
So we have one main account, right, that everything goes into. Then we have like a retirement account. Then we have like what we call our allowance account that we put money in each week to do what we need to do
Mm-hmm.
and what we want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So for instance, she goes grocery shopping all the time. So she's got money in there for grocery shopping and extra money for whatever she want to do. She want to go eat with her girlfriends, go do this, go do that, and do this, do that. So you can do that too, to kind of structure the finances so that once he knows that this is all I got to spend this week, you know what I mean?
Right.
He'll start to be more responsible with the spending.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now I saw somebody put this in the note, which was, but he should not squander the funds. And I do agree, right? The funds can't be squandered and he's got to be way smarter around the funds. And this part, like, so if what we're saying, you've already tried it and say, this dude just doesn't care, right? He's just going to do what he want to do. Then now you're going right back to counseling, and then you got to seek a little bit deeper because this may have something to do with the way that he was brought up, something that's deep attachment to him that you trying to be involved with or will only continue to keep on starting fights in your home, right? So once again, we want to use wisdom around when do I approach, and if you're approaching with this nice, loving, and sweet spirit, and you're not getting the results, then that means we got to go back to the drawing board, which is communicate. We got to figure out what it is, well, basically figure out the whys around, what's going on. And like Sean said on the first question that was asked, that will be a time for you to actually get more of some counseling, maybe get a mediator or something like that. Maybe get a financial advisor, get someone to be able to mediate between what's going on. So that way that you're not having these blow-ups, because I'm not for some man squandering the money either. I think you got to have some wisdom, but I think we're just trying to talk maybe in hypotheticals that he doesn't really squander it, but he may be just a little terrible, but he's just not throwing it away. But just using wisdom around that though.
One thing we must think about is our expectations of people. Sometimes are expectations they can't meet. If he never went to school for finances, if he doesn't know how to manage money,
Mm-hmm.
you're always going to have that problem. You can take a broke person and give them $1 million, and in a year or two, they'll be broke again because they don't know how to invest that money. They don't know how to properly, manage that money. So you're asking them to do something that they don't know how to do.
Mm-hmm.
So as a couple, maybe you guys take a finance class in a community college or something like that to help learn what to do with that money.
Mm-hmm. Or their church, because I know our church do the what's his name? Dave Ramsey finance thing. So you got to find stuff to go get. I think married couples, what they do is they fail on growing in education and wisdom. But we need to move on to the next question. Okay, y'all. Listen, Julie, I want to ask you, I saw somebody say, but my husband sees this as control, as control. Well, I wonder how you're presenting that. If he sees it as control, maybe it's because of the way it's being presented. So Julie, can you tell me what they're saying in the comments really quick?
I think you've actually been very, you're caught up. There was a thing there. There's just been a couple of different comments going on. My husband sees it as control, and then responding about facts are important. Somebody else said that they have been taking Dave Ramsey's class. Oh, here's one that just came in. What if his pride will not allow him to admit he can't manage money? And then a second question, sometimes when as women, we say something, we are seen as controlling. Ooh, two important things.
You want to take, anybody want to take that on?
I definitely want to say something. I think too, when you read the first question, this kind of goes along with the question that was just stated. Trust. She said that, well, whoever stated this said that this was a premise of trust. I think for me, I think, and I hear all the gentlemen, I think sometimes, well, let me say this, generationally, my generation doesn't envision marriage the way, because essentially, you know, you're talking about guys who probably want to be more invested and involved, but there are some guys who just do, they gonna spend what they spend. They don't care what their wife is saying. They're gonna be jerks about it. And so, and it's just me being raw and candid about my generation. And so here's what I would say. For me, when I heard the word trust, why is trust being placed on the finances? That's an issue for me. That's problematic. I think for me, that speaks to an abusive situation where maybe it goes back to where the last lady, I don't know what her name is, what she just said. The woman is actually using the money as a premise of control. And so in those, at least that's what I'm hearing. So in those situations, I would really say, number one, yes, you need to go to counseling, because you can do all the financial things you want. But if a woman is using money if she's using that as a way to weaponize against that man, you're going to have a lot of issues in that marriage when it comes to finances, whether he gets a job or not. The other thing is too, is that when you talk about men who are in those kind of situations, men have a tendency to kind of go bunkers, because the other thing I think the lady mentioned in her statement was, I guess in regards to him not having a job. If that's the mindset she's going into that with, it is coming out in how he is spending and what he is doing, which it also, for me, it says, and I'll shut up here, for me, it actually sounds like that is leaking out into other areas. It looks like money is, the crescendo of the issues. It doesn't sound like that's really the core. The finances is just what's seeping over into that. And I'm sorry, this is just me hearing through another lens and another ear, but that's what I'm hearing. I'm really hearing that she's weaponizing the money, number one. Number two, she's using money as a way to control that guy. And then number three, even if he were to get a job, I don't think for her mindset it would be, because for her, it must mean that she expects him to either make a certain amount or to be at a certain level. And so she could be weaponizing that against him. I'm sorry, y'all, but that's kind of what I'm sitting back hearing.
No, that's good.
Real quick, I just want to touch on this too. A lot of times when we're in a relationship, even before we get married, right? Was that man that type of man before you married him? Did he spend all his money when y'all first met? Was he making money when y'all first met? You know what I'm saying? So for you single women out there, those are all type of problems you want to get resolved before you marry somebody. Mm-hmm. You can't marry somebody and think that everything is going to get better after you get married. Whatever it was before you got married, it's going to be multiplied once you get married.
Times about 1,000.
But now you in it. You can't get out of it. You know, so you got to make sure you resolve any issue, whatever it may be, before you even get married.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I want to move to the next question, but this question is, I'm going to take this singles question. I've been dating this guy for 3 years. After the first year, he was caught cheating and I forgave him. He seems to be honest now, but I don't trust him. I wouldn't have figured out he was cheating if a friend didn't tell me. He's a pretty good guy, but I don't know if I can stay with someone I don't trust. Am I being too harsh and judgmental?
If you don't trust him, you didn't forgive him.
Well, that's not necessarily so.
If you forgive him, you say you forgave him, right?
Right.
And you still want to be with him, you got to put that in the past, because you'll never be able to move on in the future if you don't put it in the past.
Okay, but she's saying, listen, I wouldn't even know, this guy's so smooth that I wouldn't even know he was cheating in the first place. I had absolutely no signs. And if it wasn't for a friend of mine who told me, I wouldn't have never known.
Well, unless she has a private detective in their relationship too, she still won't never find out. So you still forgive him and move on if you don't feel like you can trust him. then go find somebody you can trust.
There you go. Anybody else?
The issue I have with that.
Hey, don't get
Go
that
ahead,
smooth criminal next time.
Go ahead. I'll go after him. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
You let me roll? No,
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. You go.
No, you go this time. I went first last time, Pastor. You go ahead. I'm gonna go after you.
You know, when I hear what you're saying, and I agree with your husband, I think he's right on target. Here's what I would say, though. For me, that's an issue, because what is it about a woman that says she has to place herself in them situations? Do you not know that the stat right now is there's 102 men to every 100 women? We're about even now, y'all. We're about even. So what that says is, when you look at the 8 billion people that's on this planet, why are you trying to pursue somebody who don't want you? And see, this is a hard, I don't know, how raw can I be? Can I be
You
raw?
can get raw down to the bone.
Okay. I just want to know, because I don't want nobody getting offended. Okay. So here's what I'm saying. There was a movie out years ago, and the title of the movie was "He's Just Not That Into You." Here is the reality. The fact of the matter is if he's cheating on you in the dating process, this is what you're going to get in marriage. And unfortunately, spiritual, and I thought your husband was going to go here, but I'm going to go here. I'm going to say this as a pastor. Women, stop spiritualizing your dating process. If men are dogs while you dating, ain't enough Jesus in the world that's going to correct that, auto-correct that before you get down the out, unless you go through counseling. Women will spiritualize stuff, and then they'll get married, and then you got to come to our office, and I got to counsel you. Because in the dating process, you got more Sean does than reality checks. You need somebody to tell you if he cheated on you while you were dating and you have went through no counseling, he has shown no real signs of change. Why are we sitting here talking about, it's not my job as a counselor to convince you to trust him. That's not a discernment issue. That's not a discernment issue.
I'm gonna tell you what the main problem is, Pastor. I'm gonna tell you what the problem is. They may not want to hear it, but I'm gonna tell you what the problem is. The problem is that you don't have sex with that man before you got married to him. Now you're tied to him spiritually.
Spiritually.
If you never would have had sex with him before y'all got married, after he cheated on you, you told him to kick rocks and you'd have went on to somebody else.
Exactly. Christian dating, though, that's the modern Christian dating. No, what he said is true. We're having sexual intercourse and then we're connected in soulish realms, but then we want counsel on how we should handle sin, because that's what you just seen. So you want me to tell you how to, anyway, let me go somebody else. I'm done. I don't want to mess up.
It's almost like,
hey, Pastor, listen, I want you to tell me what to do when he's seeing, but we're good when we see it.
Right.
Because I haven't seen too many Christians that can wait 3 years. I haven't seen them.
No. Did you say 3 years?
Yes, 3 years.
Okay, that's not in the millennial generation. That's on average, after the third date, statistically proven, people are having sex, Christian and non-Christian. That's the stats. So no, they're not waiting till the third year. Third date.
Listen, if he cheating, he definitely ain't waiting till the third year.
No.
He's not.
Oh, all right, I think it was on you, Q. Is it Q?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Pastor over here, he got it all riled up over there. But you know what? The thing is this too, is that, and I just have a question though, is that the dude cheated, and this is where I get kind of fired up for ladies. And this is just self-worth, right? This is self-evaluation. This is self-worth. And to all the ladies on here, our self-worth, not our, but the self-worth of yourself, you have to have some self-worth. This is where it twists me up. He cheated, and then you still call him a good guy. He's not a good guy. He's not a great guy. He's not an awesome man. He's not a well-moral dude. Once you break the trust, the dude's a loser. And this is what I say. Drop him yesterday. Like, he should have been dropped yesterday. You're dating. You don't owe this dude anything. And like Pastor said, we Christians, and so what we doing is that we take the faith walk too far. We taking the faith walk too far. And there's no scripture in there that backs up that type of faith. that faith is not marked in any scripture, because Jesus clearly tells us that there's some times when we got to drop some jokers, and abuse is one of those times that we drop these jokers, right? So abuse is right under cheating, mental abuse, sexual abuse, all these things. But we got to drop these guys. You got to be okay with that. The reason why you can't drop them is because of what Banks and, Pastor said, which is these sexual connections. Like, we think that we can get in here, man, and have this sex with people, and that we can just, I can dip in and dip out. No, men can dip in and dip out. Did my mic is on?
Say that one more
Listen,
time.
Mic is on. It's on. It's on.
Men can dip in and dip out with no attachments. And what women got to stop thinking is that you can play this same nasty game that men are playing, and you can't. You can't play the same game that they're playing, and you're the one that's destroyed, and men are still moving on, having a good old time.
Mm-hmm.
Men are not sitting by the wayside crying and don't know what's going on, and I don't know, and no, woe is me. They're just moving on with life, and they're still running through other ladies, destroying their lives. This is when I go back to that self-worth. You have to be able to look at yourself and say, if you're sitting at the table with this guy and he eyeballing a girl for 20, 30 minutes, that date is over. You see what I'm saying? And that's how you start setting these standards. And yes, you should have a standard. Wow. Yes. Yep. Guys should not listen. It should be hard for guys to meet these standards. You know why? Because I love me. This ain't nothing about you. Yeah. This standard is about because I love me. And since I love me, yeah, buddy, you're going to have to walk. You're going to have to get up, and you're going to have to show up. You're going to have to call me. You're going to have to pursue me. You got to show that I'm worth it. And that's the big key. If he's not after you trying to pursue you, you are
back to that movie.
Listen,
going back to that movie. He's not
that into you. He's not that into you.
Just to answer she answered the question when she asked it. When she said she didn't trust him. The fact that she doesn't trust him knows that she can't, and she knows that he ain't right.
And you don't owe him anything.
But she's telling you he's a good man because she's trying to justify wanting to stay in the relationship.
Right, and that's the part I'm talking about. You don't owe someone. That sexual connection makes you feel like you owe somebody another chance, or maybe I should. No, you don't. You don't owe anybody anything. Like,
women, I want you to ask yourself this question. If the same thing happened to your girlfriend, what advice would you give her?
Exactly. Oh, that's good. Y'all need to take notes on that. That's some good counseling right there. That's good. It's true. No, that's real. That's real.
All right, guys, we got to move to the next question.
That's good.
Since I did two, Mary, I'm going to do another single one right now. Now, this one is real interesting.
Don't laugh, Pat. Don't laugh, Pastor.
Good. So far, they is 0 for nothing. Come on.
I'm a single Christian woman, never married. What type of touching is acceptable to God before marriage? Masturbation, oral sex, kissing.
None of it's acceptable. None of it
above.
I mean, straight up. Okay, I'll put it to you like this. Okay, if you masturbate, number one, you're defiling yourself. Number two, if you do oral sex, you're going to do oral sex with anybody else. I mean, why let the seed drop on you? Just let it go. Number three, you need to keep yourself clean, just period. And then number four, you need to communicate and talk to the guy. What is your limitations? For an example, I remember this one chick used to date and stuff like that, and we'll go out. So I stayed a virgin till I got married, flat out. So I told her, I was in the room and say, listen, I want to wait till I get married, because straight up, I don't want to get burnt. I don't want to get none of the stuff happening to me. I want to be straight up. She said, okay, I'll make a deal with you. She said, since you told me that, as long as you don't kiss me behind my ear or kiss me on my neck, I could kiss you, but it can't do none of that other stuff. I'm good. So in my head, I'm like, sweet. So, but the other thing that she forgot to mention too, if I would have grabbed her breast or grabbed her butt, then that also would have turned her on. So it's good that you communicate first and find out. But the other stuff, save it to marriage. Why waste your time with a dude masturbating, whatever it is? Why? Wait till you get married. It's worth it. I ain't gonna lie. If I could go back, 30-something years, boy, and the information I knew now, how to communicate, how to talk, how not to touch, how to touch, man, I'd be like the Don Juan of Christians, boy. I ain't gonna lie. I sit out there, but let me tell you, hold off and wait. It ain't worth it. You're a Christian lady. You're a Proverbs 31. You're a woman of substance, ability. you're one who that men should be admiring. Quentin said it earlier. Love yourself. For real, what's the sense of satisfying a dude? Almost said something, almost said the N-word. Why satisfying him and you can love yourself and take care of yourself first? Ain't no dude worth it, for real. Right. Straight up.
With all this social media, with all these subliminal messages on TV, every program you watch is sexual scenes and all. You ready to go before you even go out on a date. You already, if he whisper in your ear, you ready.
Apostle, I think you had something to say to it.
Man, it's so much to say on this. This is a loaded, y'all see, and it's gotta be a millennial. This has gotta be somebody my age. We the only ones that ask these crazy. Oh God, help our generation.
Listen, I'm happy that the pastor's on here. I like that energy.
Because I have to counsel through this. For some reason, millennials are always pushing the bar. Why would you be? Why are we talking about sex and you single? That part. Why are we even there? Why are we talking about what you're gonna do in the bedroom? What you're gonna bend up? You shouldn't even be doing. Twerk for your husband. So here's the problem that you have with, now you said I could be wrong, so I'm just gonna be candid, okay? Jesus. Here's the problem. A lot of women want to, now we always talk about test driving. Women want to be tested in that age bracket you're talking about. They want to test drive too. They want to have, so this is why they're asking about masturbation. Then they're not a lot of Christian women who are going to admit to this. They saved, sanctified, and love Jesus, and they got a little bit of joy in that compartment next to their bed. Praise the Lord. And depending on whatever size they got, no, we gonna talk about it. Because she said I could be wrong, so I'm just gonna tell you how it is. Depending on whatever it is, they enjoy it. So when they get married, you are creating a monster because your man now has to match the vibrator. And see, we don't know this subliminally. We don't know this. So you're creating something that nobody's gonna be able to live up to. You can't put batteries in me and wind me up and expect. Anyway, come back. Jesus,
you can't beat the Energizer Bunny.
You can't beat it. And the reality is there are times in marriage where you may want to, you may feel like, but there's a lot of stuff going on, and you have to be able to have the balance to know it. And here's the other thing that people that's in that question for me too. This also drives home the lust issue. Because here's where you're getting into pornography and all these other sexual things. And as a married couple, now your husband has to deal with, are you as a woman, because this status going up too. You have a lot of women, say Christian women, who do struggle with pornography. Not a lot, but that number is growing.
No, so you got a lot.
No, you say, okay. So the marriage coach said it's a lot. He said it's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. I got to correct that.
And I think the bigger threat is the soft porn. And that's our series on Netflix. The series on Netflix, there's soft porn.
Pastor, why do you think those romantic novels used to be so popular?
Oh, God.
Women used to fall asleep reading romantic novels.
Reading the Zang novels, yes. And stop reading what you're saying, and I'll share about this. What he is saying about Instagram, and then also what Coach said about actually soft porn in general. Know your limits, women. I love what he said about the woman said, this is what we can't do. Now, I think if you're dating, you need to ask the hard questions. I would say wait till a certain point. And definitely if you can't have it in a quiet place, have it in a public place, because if stuff start rising up, you want to make sure you have a check balance. But I would definitely say you need to know where men are sexually, because the other part of this is that women are getting married and realize that either the man has a high sex drive or he's wanting to do things in a sexual capacity that you're uncomfortable with. These are things you need to talk about in that dating process. But the whole I agree with everything that's been said. Masturbation is wrong. You shouldn't be masturbating. Women of God, don't be touching on yourself and because you're creating something. Any other thing sexual that you got going on, don't be doing that. It's just not right. And I don't know. We teach that. And I'll say this, I'll shut up. I've been in rooms where Christian therapists or Christian people have said it's okay to masturbate. I'm telling you from the word. The devil's the truth, the devil's a lie, the truth ain't them. You should not be fawning on yourself as a single woman. So tonight, repent, and then get all them vibrators you got, all them sex toys you got, and your lingerie too.
Because you know the word oral sex has the word sex in it, first of all. So there's no sex before marriage. Masturbation, I want you to think of the first word. It says master. So something is mastering you. Okay. Quentin, I know that you had something to say on that. We're going to move to the next question.
Just this is gonna be like 2 seconds, right? The thing is this, because growing up in church all your life, you know, and the first thing that church folks always want to just tell you is that, hey, don't do it. Well, that's kind of like easier said than done because the body is telling you all these things, right? Not only just in the fashion of actually kissing or touching or all that stuff, right? It's the comfortability around certain people. Then that's how you end up letting your guard down because the relationship starts to go in the right direction. And so I think that we get caught up in that because in church, we don't teach people actually how to navigate it. We just tell you that the Bible say don't do it. And so the Bible is full of don't do's, but God expects his people who are in teaching and in leadership to actually explain how to go about doing these things. And so the how to is I don't want to. So what I have to do is I have to set in the first 4 dates. I got to set this line here so that the marker is there. I'm going to say, don't you wait no months to talk about this marker that needs to be set. And you're not setting the marker for that person. You're setting the marker for yourself because check this out. I'm waiting till I get married. And if it's silent, the guy is going to tell you exactly who he is. Listen, fellas, we don't wait around. We're not going to be sitting around here trying to see what we could do. And listen, and I'm talking because a lot of us we're not 19 and 20, right? So, you know, we're over that age of where the games where I'm going to try to see what I can get. No, I'm 47, right? So at 47, if you told me if I was a single guy and you say, hey, I'm not trying to have none, then I'm going to look and say, well, the numbers say basically I can let you go because there's about 20 other girls out here that'll give me what I want, right? So it's really kind of easier today to set these benchmarks where back in the day, guys would try to ride this long ride to see what they can get from you. When today the enemy has it so accessible, soft porn, hard porn, whatever you have. We got Instagram. I can go on here, Instagram, and I got rid of my TikTok, right? Because basically I'm trying to use TikTok to do my save period, my business. But every time I pull it up, it's booty shaking. It's right there. It's there. So basically the guys don't have to they don't have to try to play around with you. So you don't have to play around with them. Hey, I do like this guy after about the 3rd date. Let me tell you where I'm at. This is where I'm at. And then let him figure it out. What women are doing though, what they're doing is they understand that the sexual piece is a direct connection, thinking that they can hold some ground with the man. What ends up happening is that you actually don't gain any ground with him. It's the weight that you actually gain the ground. When you give it up, the ground has been lost. And so basically you're just a little another notch. Even listen, you could be with a dude. If you've been with a dude for 10 years and y'all ain't married yet, I'm telling you, it's just a notch. That's how come guys can do that. They could be with you for 20 years, don't never marry you, and just be there. And you're just sitting there. Now you stuck because it's like, holy smoke. Now I gave you the kitchen sink and in hopes that you would do A, B, and C, and you ain't did nothing. And I could have just came out front and said, I'm not doing nothing. And you could have got rid of that loser right up front. So to make this short, set those boundary lines. Yes, it's going to cost you 4 or 5 to 50, 60, 70 dudes that's going to have to come in and get out the way. But don't set your standards lower. This is all about self-care. You guys join Toy Banks. This whole platform of what she has going on is for self-care, for women, for a woman's self-care. Don't get on here and don't take advantage of the self-care This is what this woman promotes, self-care. And self-care says that I'm not going to put myself in position to be used. You can't put yourself in a position to be used because guys are jerks. And if you allow us to be a jerk, a man will always, save or not save, would choose to be this jerk.
Every time.
Samson.
With a smile on their face.
Listen, go read Samson. Mighty man of God, but he chose to be a jerk and go be with other women outside of what God told him to be with. Because it was easy. They loved him. So, all right, sorry, Joyce.
Understand this. When you set boundaries in a relationship for men, we will respect them if we want to be with you.
Right.
Only time we will not respect them as if we don't want to be with you, and we do, sis.
That,
a lot of you women,
that's good to start.
give a little bit, try to keep us. Give a little bit more, try to keep us. Give a little bit more, try to keep us. Then you done gave us everything you got. And you still can't keep us because you never gave us boundaries.
We need boundaries.
We do.
We need them. If you give us boundaries and we respect your boundaries,
yes,
we will respect you.
Yes.
If we don't,
that's word.
We wasn't planning on respecting you in the first place.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, we got a lot of more questions coming in here. So this is an anonymous. They're here right now. This person is here in the room right now.
Okay.
Is it my responsibility to ensure that my husband has a good relationship with my family, or should be able to communicate with them himself? I feel that him being the man and the head should be able to go anywhere, family included, to address issues. I shouldn't have to be a mediator. Am I wrong? Now, I'm going to give you this. This is a issue with the husband and the father has not been getting along since the beginning of the marriage. And the husband wants the wife to say, hey, you need to say something to you. You know, you need to help me or say something to your dad, because this is not, I need you with me on this. And I need you to say something. So what would you guys say? She's saying, hey, he's supposed to be the head. He should be able to go and handle that on his own.
Let me just say this real quick, and then y'all can chime in. If she and I, right, we were dating, and me and her father couldn't get along, if she didn't intercede and let her father know that she loves me, that we got to work this out, okay, then we probably wouldn't get married, because that's going to be first of all, she's going to take her father's side on some things. And now from what this lady sound like, she ain't taking his side on nothing. It's all your problem.
Right.
With my father. When her father should have been not checked, but she should have respectfully told her father when she found out that we were getting married, and listen, this is going to be the man of my dreams. Number two, the father probably don't like him because you're still his baby girl. And he sees him as a replacement. Mm-hmm. So you need to let your father know that he's not a replacement. He's just here to take care of me. The father might not want to let her go. So no matter whether it was him, another dude, Mr. Suave, or anybody else, he still wouldn't like him. That's just like a mother. My mother gave her the worst time before we got married. When we were dating, cool. But when she found out we were getting married, oh, my mother was, she was like a cougar with fangs. You know what I mean? But it wasn't until I went to my mother and I not checked her, but respectfully let her know that you're not going to disrespect my fiance, my future wife. Whether you like it or not, I'm getting married to her. You can either work it out or you out.
And I needed to see that.
Plain and simple. You need to understand that she comes before you, period. So once my mother saw that, and she saw that, she looked at her as a threat. I'm the only son. She was taking her son away from her and all this other kind of stuff. But once she saw and realized that now she loves her to death, she's the best thing ever happened to me. She's so glad she married me, especially when she's sitting at the table eating breakfast and dinner. You know what I mean? But it took me to step up and say, listen, here's the deal. If you don't like it, you don't even have to come to the wedding, but we getting married anyway.
So if he wouldn't have stepped in, that's his mama. So he made a rule in our marriage early on. You take care of your family, I'll take care of mine. But if yours cross you, I'm going to handle your family. That was the deal. Because my family shouldn't be able to get past me to him.
And then too, like her husband probably doesn't feel secure enough, even if he handles her father. Are you going to come with me or are you going to go with your daddy?
Are you going to agree? Are you going to side? Yeah.
Because to me, as a man, if you're loyal to me, you're loyal to me. Not your mother, not your father, not anybody. You're supposed to be loyal to me. If I'm your husband and you got my back, I got to know you got my back with anybody. I don't care who it is.
Right.
Outside of God and me telling you to do something that's out of the will of God. That's different.
So
Okay,
is this
so-
person married? Is this person
Yes,
married?
this is
Yeah.
a married couple.
Okay. I just want to say something about that real quick. Whoever the lady is that wrote this, number one, you got to realize that you are the helper. You're the man's helper to help him, and especially with fathers. Number one, the one scripture talk about leave and cleave, and that right there, even leaving the father, but as well at the same time, to build relationship, the husband don't have to go and say, hey, I want to be friends, buddy, chum with you. But if he go to him and say, hey, listen, you know, like, I love your daughter, she's my wife now, because he have to understand the role has been given from the father and unto that husband. So his responsibility is to her. So now when the daddy comes in and the wife is feeling like, well, you should go ahead and make friends. You should be the man. You should be this. No, number one, as most of us men know, you know, like, we're going to have this talk. I got a daughter. I know how it feels. But in order to have a relationship with that husband, there's somebody got to be the mediator. The husband just can't walk into your family dynamics because he don't know what he's getting into. What if the OG, he's an OG, or what if he's this or this? He going to tell, man, I'm come talk to you right now. We're going to talk because we need to have relations. You can't do that. The Bible talks about for us to use wisdom. You got to use wisdom when you're coming to talk to in relationships, and especially with fathers. If the father don't want to have that relationship right now, cool. Like my mother-in-law, she perpetrate like she got a relationship with me. She sits there trying to dog my wife and everything else. Now, like what Sean said, I would intervene in a hot second. And I told her, she wanted to get up and punch my wife, and I had to step in between, say, listen here, she's your daughter, but this is my wife. It ain't gonna be no punching here at all, period. And like setting the grounds, the boundaries, the standards, this is what you have to set in the relationship. But don't force your husband to go make a relationship. That'll push them away like crazy.
Yeah. And also we have to understand this very important thing. There are three families that are at play here. This is not just one big family. It's your family. Your husband has his own family, and then you got your own personal family. But you and your husband, you guys are the third family that's involved in this. And this is why we're talking about these boundaries, because you're your own family. You're not part of a big family. I know that we're raised to hear that, everybody, we're one big family, but that's how we get all this confusion, right? And parents will overstep boundaries and do all kind of weird stuff because we invite that in with this big family. I want my mother-in-law. I want my father-in-law. I want everybody to love. You better do one thing first. Set your family up first. So before you got the kumbaya, set your boundaries, set your family up, how we're going to operate, what we're going to allow, what we're going to do. And then you let everybody else understand what the boundaries are around your life, around your marriage. Because I remember me and my wife first got married. I lived like 10 blocks down from my dad. And it was like year one of us getting married. And so I lived 10 blocks down. My dad just thought, hey, it's a Saturday. I'm going to stop on by. So my dad pulls up, knocks on the door. Me and the wife are sitting in the house. I look out the window. I see him. I went and sat back down. So he's beating on the door. This dude drives back home, calls me on the phone. I'm like, yo, what up, Pop? Man, I saw you look out the window. What you trying to do? I said, listen, this is my house, and you should have called before you came over to my house. And I'm going to tell you why, because I could be booty naked in here because this is my first year of marriage, and you didn't respect the fact that anything could be going on at this house, and you thought that you could just show up. But he thought that because he was my dad, that I should automatically open up that door and let him in, go put clothes on and let him in. And then what you normally do is that's what we do. Oh my God, that's my mama. Hold on, let me go. Mom, what you doing here? Nah, you sit your butt outside and then you call me, and then I'm gonna tell you on the phone that don't ever do that. Don't ever pull up at my house without calling. I won't come to your house without calling. Like I don't go to my mom's house. I don't just drop by my mom's house without calling. Today at 47 years old, I don't do that. I call, and my mom lives literally 2 blocks down from me. I get right on my phone and I say, hey, Mom, I'm gonna be out. I might drop by. Is that cool? Yeah, you know why I do that? Because I want her to do that to me. But this, I set a boundary and then I abide by a boundary. You get me? So don't think that your family and the guys are saying it right though. As the wife, I'm sorry, but you got to squash that beef. That's your job to squash. Your dad that has no right to come at your husband. Period. Like that's not. You got to stop that, and that should have been stopped immediately as soon as your husband came to you. Because like Sean said, that one thing, if you want your husband to go back to the second question or the first one, stubborn and unloving, you let that mess keep on going on, and this dude is going to turn into a concrete because of disrespect.
Let me ask this question though, Quentin.
Yes.
What is the responsibility of the husband in this situation? So we know that the wife needs to take up for the husband, need to respectfully correct her dad on behalf of her husband and to stand alongside with her husband as he tries to repair this relationship. But what should the husband be doing in order to create a better relationship with the father?
The responsibility of the husband is to his household, not to her father's household. And if her father wants to be a part of their household, he has to respect, like Quentin said, the boundaries that they set in their household. Mm-hmm. And if he doesn't respect those boundaries, then it's up to the wife to say, listen, Dad, these are the rules of our house. This is the boundary at our house. If you're going to come over to our house, you're going to show my husband some respect. Mm-hmm. If you want our kids to come over to your house, you're going to show my husband some respect because these are our kids. Say, I didn't have this baby with you. I didn't have this kid with you. He needs to understand that.
Right.
Once you put it to him like that, if he wants a relationship with your kids, if he wants a relationship with your family, then he will respect your husband. They don't have to be best friends. They just have to respect one another.
But sometimes, let me be the devil's advocate here, if you will. I hate that terminology, but let me say this because we don't know. So you got two situations that could be happening. One, the husband could be trying to really have a genuine relationship with the husband, with the father, and he's being a butt. Yeah. Or the husband could be acting a butt.
Right. Because that's what I was going to address.
A dad that's a butt as well. So what advice would you give to the husband on how he should be trying to build and nurture that relationship as his wife stands beside him?
Well, the first thing he's got to do is he's got to be sure of himself. As when you become a husband, I've learned that very quickly, that as a husband, you got to be very sure of your position as the husband. There's no one that actually intimidates me as the husband of this house, right? And I don't care if it's your baby girl, your sweet cuddle buddy, whatever, is that the first thing as men is what we do, and what messes us up is that sometimes we're not really sure of ourselves. So like you said, so anything can be seen as a disrespect to us because we're not really sure of who we are. So we're puffing our chest up. And I agree with you, because that's what I was going to bring you, that maybe this may be a scenario where the guy they both could be clowns. The husband could be, unbearable or whatever the case may be, but men operate on respect. That's how we operate. We don't need you to be our best friend. We don't need you to call me every day. We don't need any of that. You don't even have to text me. It's just that when we're in the same presence with each other, that we're very cordial and that we respect each other. So that would be the part that I would say that the actual husband actually does owe to the relationship, is that if you do want respect, though, you do have to still give respect. So I think that overall, if someone, it's kind of like, with Jesus, is that a soft answer turneth away, rowdiness, right? So if I give out a soft answer, then eventually you can't be rowdy if I'm not rowdy. So I would definitely tell the husband to back up a couple and then start treating your father-in-law with a soft answer, whether it's a direct answer or not, but just be soft about it. Don't puff up your chest, because, God tells us with our own son, do not provoke him. Our own son. And you know why he said that? Because if you provoke your own full of testosterone son, that dude will try to fight you. I'm not saying he could beat you, but I'm saying that your son literally would try to fight you and he'll try to protect himself because of the provoke. So as a husband, the dad may be a jerk or he may be doing whatever. You still owe him as respect as an elder to come to him with a soft answer. In that approach, if things are still a little wonky, then definitely, like, Big Bang said, which is honey, because basically you can't be a firecracker, your dad a firecracker, and then you expecting your wife to get in there. That's why she probably like, I'm not getting involved with none of y'all, both crazy, so I'm not getting involved. So somebody's got to create this environment where someone has to be level-headed. And that comes with surety of who you are, surety of where your wife stands with you. And like I said, it's really all about you trying to build your own environment and what you want your family to see, how you behave, how you do things. So as much as other people want to do how they want to do, unfortunately, God is going to judge every single man on how he carried himself according to anything that goes on. So that husband really needs to kind of maybe dial back. Me personally, I would go have a conversation offline with him. Meet me at Buffalo Wild Wings, dinner on me. Let's figure out, no man ain't gonna pass up no food. Let's sit down, let's have some wings, and then let's try to figure out where we can actually have respect. Like, this is not a kumbaya, man. I just need to know, what do you need from me to feel respected? And then I'm gonna do the same to you, because that's gonna be needed. I don't think that I got a daughter, and I'm gonna tell you what, I'm a great dad. And so I can see, and I pray that my daughter doesn't use me as this barometer and as this measuring stick with her own husband, because I do my, I'm doing what I do. And so she's got this status that's like way up here. And I hope and pray that she don't go, well, my dad would never do nothing like that. Oh, my dad would do that. That's some wonky stuff.
Right. And so you gotta, I think that the moral of the story is this: the wife needs to back the husband. 100%.
Number one.
We're clear on that. But we also need the husband to be honorable in this situation towards the father, but at the same time strong and bold to say, listen, I love your daughter. You love your daughter, and she's my wife, and I'm not going to have this with you. And this is what I desire to do. And so there has to be a balance there. Yes. Before I move on, I see that Pastor Chris Pasick has entered the room. I'm going to add him into the conversation. Hey, Pastor Chris, how are you?
Woo-hoo. Hey-o. Satisfied Wives Club, my favorite club. Seriously, guys, I'm so sorry I'm late. I love Toy, and I love you guys, and I love the Satisfied Wives Club. Like, so sorry I was late. We got like family mix-ups. So anyway, I am here.
Oh, I'm glad that you're here. We're going to keep moving. I'm going to get to this next question. We do have an anonymous question. Guys, we need to do 1 minute answers because we got a couple more questions. So I see an anonymous question says, what does men see as a woman really loving herself? What does that look like? So she's trying to understand, what does that look like to y'all? When you say that woman loves herself, what do you see? What is the characteristics that you see when you see a woman that loves herself?
Again, a woman who has boundaries, a woman who knows what she wants out of a relationship
and won't bend.
She can compromise, but not compromise herself.
Mm-hmm.
If you understand what I'm saying.
And also, go ahead, Sean.
Go ahead.
Sorry. I was just saying. Okay, I was just gonna say that a woman who loves her singleness, like who walks around with character, that of a Proverbs 31. If you really read that, even to 10 to 31, it talks about the characteristics of a woman, and you see that a guy see that, and a woman begin to take down like, I am this Proverbs. Let me use this, and I always use this in toy. Probably know I'm going with this. When you realize how valuable you are and how loved you are, it goes back to treating them as a weaker vessel. The weaker vessel, when you think about fine china, and a woman begin to see themselves as delicate as fine china, not to be run over, but to know how to nurture, take care of herself. And also, the Bible talks about Yafar above rubies. I said this almost every time I get on this. When you think about a ruby, a philanthropist found the ruby, it was worth $600,000 for one. Now, the Bible says only a few, two. You're at the minimum, you love yourself at $1 million, at a minimum. So if you love yourself, seeing yourself as valuable the way God sees you in his eyes, and you love yourself more, you're displaying the singleness, you're showing how much that you don't need a person, but you love yourself. And what I mean by loving yourself, not arrogantly, not saying like, oh, I'm stuck up loving myself, but loving yourself like the way it's described to, the agape love, you see that self, you love yourself unconditionally, and you won't settle for anything less. We'll give that minute and a half one.
What I mean by being compromised, real quick, I'll clean that up, is that as a man, we're going to challenge you. No matter what you tell us, the boundaries you set, we're going to push those limits, right? If you don't allow us to get you off your square, to get you to do things that you say you won't do, because a lot of women will say, I won't do this, or I won't do that, and I won't do this, and we'll immediately try to get you to do what you say you won't do.
Mm-hmm.
Just to see if you're just saying it or if that's who you really are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Anybody else have something to say on that?
Yeah, well, I'll jump in. So I'm the new guy. But one of the things to add more, I mean, Ron's crushing it. I mean, and saying, but one of the things that I've loved is how do you gain that confidence? One of my favorite texts in the world for women is Psalm 45, 10 and 11, where it says this: listen, daughter, and pay careful attention. Forget your people and your father's house. What that is forget the voices that's being slammed into you from culture, from what's commonplace, right? Because what's commonplace is not what we're gunning for, right? And then he says this: let the king be enthralled with your beauty, honor him, for he is the Lord. And the king there is Jesus.
Yep.
Right. And you think about that, like let the king be enthralled, get your identity and your beauty from what Ron's saying, at least 1 million, I mean, let that be your baseline, and then realize there's a King Jesus. Listen to what he says, honor him, put him there, and now you can walk with confidence. Now, right? I mean, there's a stature to say, hey, I'm not going to compromise. I'm not going to move. I'm going to be sturdy because I know this is my standard. I'm going to take that. And hey, look, the magazines, culture, social media, it might be saying a whole different thing, but we're going to create a strong foundation here because I'm going to look to the king to describe my beauty, honor him with my body. And now we can start from here. Right. And so to me, that's just one of my go-tos to be like, boom, take what Ron's saying, slam dunk it, I mean, add some text to it, and then you got all that happening. So anyway, that's what I
love that. I love that, but I want to add to something that Ron said. He was talking about the value of one ruby, right? I need you to understand what it says. He said far above rubies. Now, rubies being more than one. So he's talking about a multiple group of rubies. He said, now you're far above that. So I'm telling you that God, he didn't even tell you why he loved you. He just told you he loved you, and then he died for you. He said, so you're worth dying for. So you got to remember that. I want to get to this next question. Okay. I'm not sexually satisfied. I want to tell my husband, but I don't want to hurt his manhood. What is the best way to communicate this? I'm going to say it again. I'm not sexually satisfied in my marriage. I want to tell my husband, but I don't want to hurt his manhood. What is the best way to communicate this?
Matter of fact, what you want to do is have a sit down with him. Now, I remember, Troy probably remembers why I talked about this. Me and my wife got to the point, like I told you, I was a virgin when I got married. But the only difference was, of course, when we first did it, I was number like a 2-minute man. That was it. It was wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. So, of course, I'm sitting here thinking okay, but since we have all our lives together to build sexually, so I started asking my wife, what can I do to satisfy you? Or what can I do? Or matter of fact, when she came to me and stuff, said, hey, babe, if you would not just sit there, if you would move your hips to the left or to the right, I respect that because we develop relationship. And because we develop relationship, and she come to me and ask, even to this day, there's some days I probably been at a 4, but you could bet one darn thing that I'm gonna make up for that one in the next day or two. But it's called communication. I feel good. I'm telling you, I'm gonna have that girl twitching toes like on boomerang and everything else. But then she got to come to me and let me know. And with your man, have a sit down with him. Say, baby, you know what? I really appreciate you, but I need some more. You know, and it's just how you talk to him. Don't be, you ain't taking care of me. Shoot, I could be looking at some Harlem books. You know, I actually had a client say that too. I had more pleasure out reading a book than our sex life. But you have to go to him in love and just tell him, but you have to present it to him and tell him, baby, you know, I love you, however long you've been married. And you just say, hey, could you mind if we go ahead and just talk about, and if I'm satisfied more, because like most of us men, we know that, shoot, we could take care of our woman with no problem. But if we don't have no baseline, if you don't speak, the Bible says you have not because you ask not. And if you're not getting, I'm saying you ain't getting no orgasm, you ain't getting none of those good things and stuff, that's your fault. But you got to come to him regardless of manhood, because I'm a real man. My wife could come to me, and any one of these brothers and he could say the same thing too and stuff. If you go to him and talk to him, but not being sarcastic, that's the key thing. Don't be sarcastic, but be gentle.
Know this, if he truly loves you, he wants to see you satisfied.
He does. I want to add this second. This is a second question, but I think it goes with this question. It says, this is very personal. I was married previously. Now I've been married for 9 years. I enjoyed oral sex. She said, so I was married previously, but I'm now married for 9 years. In her previous marriage, she enjoyed oral sex. And it's very rare that I have an orgasm without it. But my husband now does not like doing it. He's a great husband, but not having an orgasm regularly has taken a toll on me, so much so that I've started secretly masturbating, and I feel so ashamed. I know God is not pleased with this. Please, any advice would help. So she, in her previous marriage, she was divorced before. She was used to oral sex, and that's how she reached her client. This husband now is saying he doesn't like doing that, but she's been with him for 9 years, and she rarely ever has an orgasm. And now she's moved over into masturbation to get the satisfaction. So, and she's feeling ashamed about that. What advice would you give her?
Well,
well, first go ahead, Quentin. I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to say, first of all, bringing in information from a previous relationship is a no-no. I don't care what you and how you were with another man. You can't measure that man against another man. That's going to be probably the first thing that you're going to, not only will it set you back, but it's going to run turmoil in your brain. And that's why you're in this vicious cycle. Now you're masturbating. Because basically, he's a great man. He's a great this, but this dude over here would do something that did something great for you. So this dude doesn't want to do it. Well, they're two different dudes. So this kind of goes back to what Ron was saying, which is you got to come together with this guy to figure out exactly how do we make the same thing happen over here with this guy with what he does like to do. And when you can get whatever, the extra, then you take it, right? If you can get it, you take it. But the thing is that it's not really fair to hold him to a standard of something that you could receive from someone else. It's like the dude is literally fight. He came in already losing the battle because you could have just told him that up front, like, yo, this is what I like, and I like this. And, I don't even know if you into this kind of stuff, bro. And you probably would have learned that I don't like doing that. That's not my thing. I don't want to do all of that. So you could have figured that out beforehand, right? But that's because, and that's kind of off the thing, but because we don't really have conversations like this before we get married. We just, you know what I'm saying? We just get married, and then hopefully everything just fits like, the round hole, the round peg and the round hole. Sometimes the hole is square. And so we end up in a position to where now we're frustrated. Well, the frustration can be eliminated. Now you got to figure out how to make the love part of this relationship with this man work to fit the needs that you do, and spend less time about what you used to get. Because listen, if everybody had sex before they got married, can go down a laundry list of what they had before they got with the one that they want, and we will all be in this same rut. She used to, he never did. He used to do this, and we'll all be in a pickle. Basically, kind of go back why we shouldn't even be having, sex before marriage and stuff before anyway, because that's what it does. It puts a comparison like, you know what, man, John used to be, or Sheila used to be. And that's a bad situation to bring into a relationship. that you're in right now. So, and I am sorry that, you're going to miss out on this action that you need, but you definitely need to, and I mean, I am, because it's something that, it's supposed to be enjoyable. So I know that everybody wants to have their kaboom, right? But you're going to have to figure out a new kaboom. You got to sit down with your man and say, okay, listen, I know that you don't like this, homeboy, but I'm going to need you to, I got a couple of books for you. You're going to have to read something else that you put it on him. Cause like Sean say, listen, that's what we're not fellas that we like that challenge. Like, you know what I'm saying? Let me see what I can do here. Let you think I can't? Put it on them. Hey man, listen, I want to, what you going to do? And then have him get more creative. But if you coming at him with, you don't never, I can't never, you don't do, and all he's thinking is that, dang, you was just, you were married before. Men are, and remember, man, we got egos. Like,
whatever you do, don't tell them that. Don't
listen,
tell them what the ex-husband used to
well,
do.
well, this is the thing, B. Banks, is that you don't have to tell us. Is that I know that you were already married once, and if this is something that you're used to, it derived from somewhere, and so I could put 1, 2, and 3 together. So what it does is that it takes now I become lackluster in what I want to do, because now I'm just thinking, well, all she wanted is AB, and it messes up the whole flow of what you're trying to get. That's how come you got to sit down and create the lovemaking around the new improved relationship that you have, and come up with, to make something, better out of what you have, because comparing and bringing in, guys don't function well under that. That's too much pressure for guys. And what ends up happening is that we'll duck out, right? Because like I told you before, we're jerks. Like, we'll be a jerk. And so don't give us a reason to be a jerk. Don't put pressure on us with something that's going to put pressure on our ego. Money, sex, authority, like these things put pressure on our ego. And when you start pressing on that thing, man, we find ourselves doing jerk-like stuff. So, try to eliminate or try to keep that down to a minimal. So
I would say have a conversation with him and find out why he doesn't like to do it.
Oh, you could do that too. Yeah.
Have a serious, honest conversation and be prepared for an answer that you might not want to hear.
That's
right,
good.
okay?
Thanks.
Maybe he doesn't like the way it smells. Maybe he doesn't like, this or that. Maybe you have to wear some underwear, the edibles, or I don't know what it is. But if you can have an honest, listen, no matter what it is, just be honest with me and tell me why you don't like it.
And then also, I know
that's a start.
Early on, we had discovery sessions in the bed. You're married, have fun. You like Ron said, we have the rest of our lives to discover how to please each other. So touch each other and say, don't ever do that again. Oh, do that again. Do that some more, right? And then also there's other ways to penetrate a clitoris without oral. Because there's some people are uncomfortable with oral. They can use their hands. The fact that you're masturbating and receiving an orgasm tells us that there is another way to get yourself to that place. So he doesn't necessarily have to do oral sex in order to get you to that climax. So I got to move on, but I think, Chris, did you want to say something to that?
Oh yeah, I mean, you guys kind of start nailing. I mean, you guys are so good. You're nailing it. I mean, my thing is always comparison kills, right? Always, every time. So number one is that, and number two is when you're leading into these kinds of conversations, I always think too is the old classic, give the why before the what, and dream together. Okay. The beautiful part of marriage is that you guys get to create a new normal or what a weird marriage, where I know the things that my wife and I do. I think that if we were just, hey, this, that, I mean, other couples would be, you guys are freaks. And I'd be like, and that's how we like it. But if you can get, him to wonder and dream, like clearly you're saying, here's a bottom line of stimulation. They're going, well, that by myself, seemingly is good enough. So, well, let's raise that bar a little and let him in on that. So, and don't compare it, just create a new normal together. Say, what are we going to do to really, enjoy and have some fun. You know, like it sounds to me like it's a function, not a lot of fun. And I would
Right.
say start having some fun and start dreaming together and having fun and just see what happens, you know.
Yeah.
So but again, I mean, it's kind of rehashing what you guys have already kind of had.
Yeah.
No problem. That was good.
That was good,
I like
Chris.
that. I really like that. We do have an anonymous question here. I hate the feelings that we as women always have to be more sensitive to men's egos